We're good.
We'll call this meeting of Lenoir County Board of Education to order. We'll recognize Mr. Brent Williams for the invocation.
Let us pray. May the words spoken in this room tonight be beneficial to the students, parents, staff, and administrators in our school system, and may we be led by the guiding principle to always base our decisions on the best interests of young people. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is the approval of the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the board agenda as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Hill,
Second.
second by Mr. Nobles. Any further discussion regarding the agenda? And all in favor, raise your right hand. The agenda is approved. Next item is the board chair comments. I don't have a lot of comments tonight. I did want to thank the members of our school improvement task force. That's a very large committee, 50 or 60 people from the community, broken up into 6 or 7 subcommittees, and they have been meeting regularly. In the last month, I've been to at least 3 or 4 different subcommittee meetings, and those committees are really making a lot of progress, and I expect to have some of their recommendations back before the board in the next couple of months. But I especially want to thank all the members of the community that are serving on those committees, because we've got members top to bottom, parents, business owners, all of our stakeholders, a lot of people from LCC, some people from ECU. We're really trying to tap into all our resources, and we appreciate everyone who's serving on those committees. Next item is the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. North Carolina School Boards Association recognizes board members for their academic achievements. These are recognitions for the 2013-14 school year, and we'll start with Mr. Bruce Hill, who's in the Scholars Circle with 901 plus cumulative training hours. Congratulations, Mr. Hill. Mr. Merwin Smith receives a certificate of achievement for completing between 100 and 200 hours of training. And Mr. John Sargent, Chair, certificate for merit for 31 to 100 hours of training. Thank you. As part of CTE month in February, Lenoir County Public Schools Career and Technical Education Program sponsored an essay contest for CTE students at our 3 traditional high schools. Tonight, we have the first place winners with us to read those essays. Accompanying them, we have Lynn Thaxton, Family and Consumer Science teacher at North Lenoir, who was recognized as an innovative teacher, by the way. Okay. Jessica Scheimer, Career Development Coordinator, and Kelly Jarman, CTE and Student Services Director. And Ms. Scheimer is going to introduce our students tonight who will read their essays for you.
Thank you very much for letting us be here tonight and represent CTE and the good things that are going on. And we've got some outstanding students here tonight. And our students are from North Lenoir, South Lenoir, and Kensington High. And we've got some parents with us as well, so thank y'all for being here. And I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves. Our essay tied in with that national theme, Recognizing Classroom Innovators. And each student was asked to talk about the CTE classes they were enrolled in this year, why it prepares them for the workforce and for the educational beyond the secondary education, and then also to recognize that CTE innovative teacher. And all of our teachers couldn't be here, but Ms. Thaxton is here from North Lenoir. The others had some obligations, but I'm going to turn it over to let our first student begin.
My name is Soweto Sutton, and I'm a senior at North Lenoir High School. The future belongs to young people. Speaking from a personal experience, all of my CTE courses have made me a better person in some way. I enjoy taking CTE courses because of the hands-on experience I can get from them. I know that what you learn in CTE courses will more than likely be put to work in the real world. Career technical education classes help you to prepare for your future. Some give you an idea of what you want to be in life, and others give you a great chance of a stepping stone to your future career. CTE courses can give you credentials and certifications. Taking classes you need like math and English simply get you to graduate with a diploma. The CTE classes aren't only more interesting, but they give you the skills that you need for a career. A career technical education class can even get you closer to an internship. They supply you with experiences you can't get with basic courses. They also look better on your behalf when applying to college or a job. No person will ask you, what were your grades in math or science? But they will ask, what type of qualifications and experience have you had? I have enjoyed taking CTE courses because they have all opened my eyes. Each activity I did helped me to build up my confidence. They pulled me out of my shy zone. My favorite CTE course has been career management. Not only did the teacher herself help to build us up, but so did the activities we did. Mrs. Thaxton showed us that she had faith in us even when we didn't exemplify it in ourselves. In Mrs. Thaxton's class, we did a lot of projects. Of course, while doing them, I would be thinking, this lady doesn't cut us any slack. But after completing them, I gained a lot of confidence in myself. Surprisingly, I especially enjoyed how we would do presentations and stand up in front of the class. Not only did my grades build me up, but the oral presentation she would give us did too. Altogether, I believe CTE courses are better because it shows us that you can do anything as long as you put your mind into it. They give you a better grasp of how things may be in college or different careers. Being in a CTE course will make you want to push yourself and do better. All of the CTE courses I took opened my eyes. They have all made me want to do great things in life. Teachers like Mrs. Thaxton have really been a great inspiration to me. Not only did the courses help me to make a final decision in the goals that I want to reach, but they really made me. They made me want to do better. Undergoing CTE classes made me want to fix my attitude and realize that if I try hard, I will succeed. The courses taught me not to be ashamed and to experiment around. Every activity I have done in a CTE course has had a positive effect on me, one that I don't really open my eyes up to in basic academic classes. Any class that gives you a better view of the real world is worth taking, and it's a challenge, but it allows you to experience new things. And I'm proud of every CTE course that I have taken.
My name is Haley Moody, and I'm a senior at South Lenore High School. One of the CTE classes that I've taken is Health Science 2. This class is all about health and medical information. Everything you learn in this class prepares you for any medical career. I'm also a part of the club HOSA, which further teaches you about the healthcare field and teamwork skills. In HOSA, we have done many projects and fundraisers such as Pennies for Patients, which taught me that helping others is very important. In Health Science 2, we learned how to make a resume and cover letter. We also made a portfolio that had our resume, cover letter, and other accomplishments in it. These are necessary for most any career you apply for. Miss Noble is the most innovative teacher at South Lenore, and I am sure many other students would agree. She comes up with new ways to help us study and remember information so it stays with us. She also applied for a grant to purchase CPR equipment so we could get CPR certified. She received that grant, and everyone in the class got certified for CPR for free. We didn't even have to pay for the cards because HOSA supplied them for us. She creates cool projects and hands-on classwork similar to real-world situations to help you get a complete understanding. Miss Noble always asks everyone on the first day what way they learn best and tries to adapt the work she has given us to help us. Before tests and quizzes, we play review games to help us one last time. She is a great teacher that genuinely cares about the success of her students and has a strong passion for what she teaches. Outside of teaching, she is also a labor and delivery nurse. She gives her students that truly want to go in that direction an opportunity to shadow her while she is working. She was the obvious choice for me to choose for most innovative teacher. I am proud to say that I have taken all 4 of the classes she teaches and have learned so much and was inspired to get a career in nursing. Out of every CTE teacher, she is the one who deserves to be recognized for all her hard work and dedication.
Good evening. My name is Jasmine Streeter and I'm a senior at Kinston High School. I'm currently enrolled in Health Science 2, which is a CTE course. This course has helped me prepare for the world of work and better preparing me for further my education. The need for healthcare professionals is growing every year, and this course will develop more healthcare professionals. Health Science is a high school curriculum program for students pursuing healthcare-related careers after graduation. This course contributes to the meeting healthcare needs of the community by preparing students like me for healthcare careers. My CTE teacher, Ms. Demery, is an innovator. She uses new methods, ideas, or devices to teach us. Instead of going to a textbook, we use collaborative activities and PowerPoints online. Ms. Demery makes learning fun and makes sure everyone gets involved. Everyone gets involved by doing internships, hosting blood drives, and by teaching other classes. We use a ton of technology in the classroom. She lets us bring excitement to all of our projects by not just using a poster or trifold. We use Poplet, Gloucester, and Prezi to give our projects a pop. Using those innovations make learning easier, more memorable, and more fun. Ms. Demery is a teacher who is not afraid of trying something new. She infuses her passion into learning, tapping into students' ideas, and using innovative tools to improve student learning. And with that being said, we'll be holding a blood drive April 15th, and I would like to invite you all from 8 to 1. Thank you.
Well, I think you did a great job, and I just wanted to point out our t-shirts. These were given to our teachers this year and to our winners, first, second, third place winners. And that came from the support of the Lenore County Manufacturers Association, which we have partnered with this year and are doing some extra. They're coming to the schools and we're going to the industries, and lots of good things are happening there, and we're meeting once a month. And a lot of other businesses gave them some wonderful gifts, so they got a nice prize package. Thank you for the opportunity.
3 LCPS students have been accepted to attend North Carolina Governor's School this summer. Cynthia Abago of Lenore County Early College High School, Caitlin Deans of North Lenore High School, and Landon Powell of Kinston High School. Cynthia will study art at Governor's School East at Meredith College in Raleigh. Caitlin will study math at Governor's School East also. And Jonathan will study natural science at Governor's School West at Salem College in Winston-Salem. Last but certainly not least, Brandon Ingram, a senior at Kinston High School, and probably right now one of the most famous people in Kinston. A member of the 2015 North Carolina 2A State Championship basketball team. Will compete on Wednesday night as a member of McDonald's All-American team in Chicago. Brandon is in Chicago now and will be participating in activities and competitive events highlighted by an awards banquet for participants, parents, coaches, and administrators on Tuesday night, and the 38th annual McDonald's All-American Game on Wednesday night. This event has become the most prestigious honor that can be bestowed upon high school basketball players across the United States. Only 2 other Kinstonians have participated in the McDonald's All-American Game. That's Jerry Stackhouse and Reggie Bowen. Congratulations to Brandon Ingram, who is a wonderful basketball player and a fine young man. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Mazingo. Next item is public comment. And I understand we have not had anybody to sign up. We'll move to the presentation portion of our agenda, the ILCPS update.
We have a treat for you this evening. Very pleased to have with us two of our administrators to give our ILCPS update this evening. Ms. Mildred Keisha Dunn, our Executive Director of Instructional Services, and formerly a principal, one of our principals for a long time, and Mrs. Elizabeth Greer, principal of Moss Hill Elementary School, will provide an update for you from the administrative perspective. You've heard from our students, you've heard from our teachers, and now from our administrators.
Good luck.
Good evening.
Better than the students.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Good. Good.
Got a good
He
trailer
told me
for
if I
us.
was in trouble, just look back at him and wink.
Choose the very top of the slideshow.
Okay. Mrs. Lynch asked me to do this last week after our big School Improvement Task Force meeting. It was quite a surprise, so I don't have anything fancy. I don't have any bells and whistles. I'm just going to talk to you from a principal's heart. A principal's perspective. Last year, I was fortunate enough to end my tenure at Northeast Elementary School after 5 wonderful years. And each year, principals are asked to submit a budget request. And we have several large forms, and that's where you ask for the big money that you know you're really not going to get, but you can ask anyway, and we give it to our finance director. So my school improvement team, we met, and we decided that we wanted to do something really different. As an instructional leader, you're always trying to layer your instructional framework to keep building it and making that foundation stronger. So we thought we were to a point where we wanted to build our technology. We were already using instructional technology with our Polycom. That was our way of bringing enrichment lessons to our boys and girls through the School of Science and Math. We had this really big, huge TV, and we could request the courses that we wanted to take, schedule them with the School of Math and Science, and one of the students or one of the teachers would teach those subjects that were just really, really maybe not in the teacher's comfort zone, such as electrical engineering or some type of component in the algebra concept. So that was one way, but we wanted to step it up a little bit. We found that we could take $40,000 from our school improvement budget, our Title I budget, I'm sorry, and buy 4 iPad carts that were 30 iPads in each cart. But we knew that wouldn't be enough for 561 children, so I had the bright idea to, I would submit my budget request, but I thought I needed to go to my superintendent in person and ask for this large sum of money. I wanted him to match. I wanted him to match that $40,000, and I knew that was something that I wanted to just submit on paper. So I called Mr. Williams and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Well, he can only say 1 or 2 things, yes or no, go for it." So that's what I did. And I want you to know that I laid out my plan for him. I told him what we wanted to do, how we wanted to continue to build our foundation for our instructional landscape, and I told him that I wanted him to match the $40,000, and the look he gave me, you just would have thought I was pure crazy. And he said, "Well, it's funny that you should say that because this is what I'm proposing." He was thinking of doing the very same thing, but district-wide, where each and every child would have an iPad. And I said, "Now, are you sure? Because I need to know if this is going to work. Are you sure?" Did I not? And so he guaranteed me that, it would go forward. And I left his office not being 100% comfortable, but it is what it is. So here we are. He kept his word. Unfortunately, I was able to stay at Northeast to see our project through, but I was able to join in the vision at another wonderful school, LaGrange Elementary. So that's where I'm going to begin now. I sent Dr. Mazingo, Mrs. Lynch, and Mr. Williams a text message. This was the first one. LaGrange Elementary School received our iPads in November. And I did my first observation on a teacher December 9th. And I was so excited. I was like, whoop, whoop, one happy principal and an observation with the teacher using eBackpack. Life is good. And that is an actual text message that Mr. Williams helped me find today, because that just goes to show you the level of excitement that I had seeing this in action And we received our iPads and we were out for Thanksgiving, and then we come back and the teachers are, I didn't even really understand what e-backpack was myself until I did that observation. And you can see what the children are doing. They're actually writing with their fingers, solving word problems. It was just amazing, and I was just one happy administrator to see that the instructional activities were just revving up a notch. And so I was very, very happy to see that. Okay, now let's fast forward to February. I'm doing another observation, and this is after I found out that I would no longer be principal of LaGrange Elementary School. Dr. Mazingo and you all had some other plans for me. And I was still going about the business of being a principal and doing observations. And so I sent another text to the very same people, Dr. Mazingo, Mrs. Lynch, and Mr. Williams. And this time I said, I've changed my mind. I can't leave my babies, because the photos that you see is what I saw, and I was just so thrilled. This is a first grade class. The former picture you saw was a fourth grade class. This is a first grade class. And each one of these children, they are doing something different. The activities and instruction taking place in that classroom was differentiated. We had a child that you can see in the top right-hand corner. He was responding to a prompt. Then we have kids on the bottom three pictures. They are all working on math activities, but they were all doing something different. And I want you to know that as I took those pictures, they paid me no attention. They could care less that I was hovering over them with my phone taking their picture. They remained engaged in what they were doing, and it just gave me an incredible feeling of this is what it's all about. And so I was feeling sad, and I sent him that email. I don't want to leave him. I wanted to stay there. And then he sent back this text and said, you can go visit them anytime you want to. So, and I do. I go see them once a week to finish out observations and other things. But my point is, as an instructional leader, you're always looking for ways to continue to strengthen the instruction in your building and continue to build your teachers' capacity, as well as bringing innovative, rigorous instructional activities to your students. The technology doesn't drive our instruction. Our instruction is going to drive the technology. And I'm not in a building anymore every day. However, I'm excited to see what's going to happen and to be able to have an impact on it. So that's my perspective from the heart of a principal.
See if they brought kids with them that could help them.
You're exactly right. That's what I asked her. She wants somebody, one kid to help her.
Okay. I just have this one thing to show you. What you're looking at is a word cloud. And what I did was I had my teachers actually send me one quote, just how the iPads in the classroom have positively influenced their teaching. And so what I did was I took the quotes and you put them in, and what it does is what the words that are the biggest are the words that were used the most often. So the one word that pops out at you is students. So pretty much every teacher that used a quote, they used the word students, which is what this is all about. So I thought that was really neat. You see the words individualized, iPads, instruction, engagement, just the words that popped out. My favorite personally was that I saw EC, and that's something I don't think that you see very often when you're talking about instruction on a day-to-day basis. But the words that pop out at me were very interesting, I thought, that came directly from my teachers. So this was really neat. So I've got this getting blown up on posters and put around my school. But I just thought it was very neat. But the one thing, when I started talking about this, and I talked to my staff about it, the vocabulary that we use a lot, these words, these actual words, are words that we should be using and we should be doing in our classrooms, but it seems like it kind of it got redundant. It got to be words that we use, and yes, we do, but do we really? When you really sit down and you really go in classrooms and you're really thinking about your teaching and because I came out of the classroom and I've only been in administration for a short time. So my first principalship this rollout has happened. So I haven't seen, you know, I had a wonderful internship experience, and then I had a wonderful AP experience, and you know, this is, like I said, my first principalship, but are we really doing these words? Are we really differentiating like we should? And is it really realistic to be able to do that without the use of technology? And as a teacher, I felt like I needed 10 of me in a classroom to really be able to do that effectively and efficiently. To really differentiate like I needed to for all my students in my classroom, there needed to be more than one of me in that classroom. And when I went into, it pops in my head, a 3rd grade classroom, from my standpoint as an administrator, it makes perfect common sense. But when I walked in that classroom and I looked, the teacher had one student pulled and was completing an assessment, a DIBELS assessment for one child. And when I walked around, every child was on an iPad, and so I just walked around and I talked to every child in that classroom, or I looked, and every child was doing something completely different, but every child was having one-on-one time with that teacher. That teacher's face was on the iPad where she had recorded herself reading a leveled reader, and so the child could start and stop that book as she needed to. The teacher was asking the child questions, so she had to respond to prompts, and she had a written assignment in front of her. One child had missed a spelling test. She had called out a spelling test, which I found out was modified because he is an EC student and has a modified assignment as one of his, on his IEP. And so he had a modified assignment, so nobody in that classroom knew that. He was taking a spelling test and no one knew. He didn't have to get pulled out. Nobody knew he had a modified spelling list, but he could be over to the side taking that by himself. So how awesome is that? That's, you know, because these kids in 3rd grade, they're getting to the point where it's a little bit embarrassing. You have to get pulled out or you have a modified list, and the kids can know that when you put yours away after 10 words instead of 20. So the other kids, you have 5 students all on a different level reader. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows you're on the lesser of the level readers instead of the engaged in the enriching, you're being remediated. So it was just really neat to see that everybody in that classroom was engaged. Everybody was seeing their teacher's face on that iPad. So everyone had one-on-one time with their headphones on, but only one student was actually sitting with the real teacher. So there was 25 teachers in that classroom, but only one of them sitting with that teacher. So everyone was getting one-on-one instruction. So for me, that was a really eye-opening experience. So when the teachers, you know, walk out at the end of the day with their bags full and they're just, you know, like this, and I wish there was 10 of me, well, now there is. Now there's more than 10 of them in that classroom, and I was a little bit jealous that I didn't have it when I was teaching. But anyway, another thing that from my perspective that is really important is the data. I'm huge in data-driven instruction, and now there's just no excuse not to have it at your fingertips. The touch of a button with all of the programs that are coming down from the district that are free for our use. You know, this is a very costly initiative, but the cost that it's saving us with not having to get materials, not having to get resources, not having to go outside of this initiative that we normally would have to, the research that we would have to do to find other resources to give us data, to have that good data-driven instruction in the classroom is outstanding. I mean, now we have at the touch of a fingertip the child completes assignments, it gives the teachers data, which gives me data, and I can have data meetings with my grade levels, and we can use that to say, okay, now what are we gonna do? We're gonna use it, and what are we gonna do with it? How are we gonna create growth from this data? And it's right there. There's just no excuse not to use it. And there's no excuse to go outside of this to find it. It's right there for us. So I guess that's really it. It's amazing. I helped Miss Melissa Lynch. She actually had to create a video, or not a video, iMovie. I don't know what I was thinking, saying video. Sorry. But we were going around and we were interviewing children and getting quick tidbits from them, and all we did was say, you know, what are you doing today on your iPad? That's all we said. And there's one student, and I will not cry, I will get chill bumps, but we've had a tough year with him, just really tough year. I love him to death. I would take him home with me tonight. Real tough year with him, and he was walking, he was hugging his iPad, you know, acting like he does it. And he was walking down the hall coming from the media center going back to his classroom. And we said, hey, so what are you doing on your iPad today? And he stopped and he said, oh, you know, not much. I'm just doing a little research on some habitats. I got to find 3 to 5 ways, you know, my animal lives in the habitat. And I got to find 3 to 5 facts before I'm allowed to come back to my classroom. But other than that, not much. And I said, okay, you know, and when else would a child that literally, I mean, you've had time after time, he's been in my office, he's been, you know, mom and dad coming in, but he just spit it out, oh, nothing, you know, that's just my 30 minutes, you know, before I can head back to class. I mean, it's just, I get chill bumps thinking about it because that would not typically be the vocabulary coming out of that child's mouth, you know, and he's sitting here with his iPad and he's just, well, I gotta go ahead and I gotta go to the library now, you know. See you later, Mr. Greer. But I just think that's amazing and it speaks volumes. And again, the big word students, that's what it is. I mean, he's taking ownership of his learning and he's engaged and he's enjoying it. So that's my perspective.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn and Ms. Greer. And Charles. Don't go anywhere, we may need you to do this. The next item on the agenda is Ms. Davis and the financial report.
She always put her out. Always wants. You got an iMovie? No iMovie? Okay.
How do you make an iMovie out of this? Be a horrible.
The financial report is for the month of March. Today, which is the 30th, it's not actually the last day of the month, so we're not quite closed out yet, but we got it up to today's point. The report does reflect the year-to-date activity by providing revenue and expenditure information as to all the sources of funds received and expended by fund and purpose as of March 30, 2015. May I answer any questions?
So that $198,000 that we netted income, that's probably net income loss. It looked like it went to the fund balance. What is that? Exactly, tell me what's happening, Dudley.
Okay, that's just the we've had more money come in this month.
So it's not a loss?
It's not a loss, no. We've had more money come in than what we expended.
Okay, but that not because the end of the year, you haven't finished out the month yet?
Correct.
Okay, so that's why we have extra money there. Okay.
Yes.
All right, good.
Any other questions for Ms. Davis this evening? If not, we will move to the action portion of our agenda, budget amendment number 3, Ms. Davis.
This budget amendment increases the state funds due to LEA-ADM adjustments in PRC 001, substitute reimbursements in PRC 003, CTE funds in PRC 014, technology in PRC 015, behavioral support allotment in PRC 029, transportation funds in PRC 056, and special program funds in PRC 063. It also increases the other local funds due to the Medicaid administration reimbursement in PRC 930, migrant ed funds in PRC 654, and PEG channel funds in PRC 860. May I answer any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Davis on the budget amendment?
Motion to approve the budget amendment number 3 as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Hill.
I second that.
Second by Mr. Nobles. Any further discussion on the budget amendment as presented? And all in favor of budget amendment number 3, raise your right hand. The budget amendment passes. Thank you, Ms. Davis. Next item is the federal funding request. Mr. Abbott Hunsucker.
I'll be doing that.
Someone standing in on his behalf.
I'll do that. On behalf of Mr. Abbott Hunsucker, our Director of Federal Programs, we are requesting your approval tonight in applying for federal funding for the 2015-2016 school year in order to provide additional instructional activities and other services to help teachers and students to meet the high standards as set forth in the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001. The programs include Title I, primarily Title I, Part A, Part D, Part C, Title II, Part A. This accounts for about $4 million in funding. About $3 million of that is tied to Title I, Part A, the largest pot of that money. And we are we're seeking your approval in making the application for this funding.
I do highly recommend that you allow us to file $3 million.
Well, somebody say it.
Motion to approve the request to apply for the federal funding.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hill, second by Mr. Anderson. Any further discussion on the federal funding request? Therefore, all in favor, raise your right hand. It is approved. Next item is the South Lenoir High School naming request. Dr. Mazinga.
The South Lenoir High School requested to approve the following naming request. The football field in honor of Tom Salter, the track in honor of Linwood Hartzell, and the athletic complex in honor of Bobby Davis. This is the second reading tonight. We did invite public comments and for them to contact me, this office, or you personally in any way that they wanted to have their comments considered. I have received very little input. I don't know about the board. At this point, your choices are to approve the request upon the second reading, to consider soliciting additional comments if you think that's necessary. This is something I've been discussing with Mr. St. Amand for quite a while. He did put together a committee that considered this and received input from, I think you have a committee about 40, about 27 maybe, came and actually expressed themselves. He is here and has volunteered to answer any and all of your questions that you should have. Okay.
Well, I guess I'll start. I have talked to a few people and some early as late as today, and there were a few questions that came up. That one was, how was the committee formed? And in reference to that, it was asked, was notice sent out inviting people to join the committee? So.
Statement, why don't you come on up here so we can.
Yes, the first question was how.
First question was, how was the committee formed, and the second was notice sent out inviting people to join the committee?
Well, basically the committee was formed. A group of people came to me wanting to discuss the merits of possibly naming facilities after Mr. Salter, Mr. Hartzell, and Mr. Davis, something that I also had strongly want to consider going forward as well. And so from that point, we started getting people who we thought were people who were voices of the community, and from there we just started picking people who we knew were people in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, some of their contemporaries and people such as this that were still around and so forth, and that's basically where we just started picking and who we could have on a committee, and tried to be as thorough as we could be, and like I say, ended up coming across with 41 people who I did call, sent letters out to, asking them to serve in this capacity, and then whenever we had our meeting, 27 showed. Of those others who didn't, I had a conversation with them and everything where they were also saying, even though I cannot be there tonight, I just want you to know I think it's a wonderful idea and things such as this. I had no negative comments at all. From individually, privately, or in open conversation with our large group.
Was it a diverse committee?
Yes, sir.
The next question was asked to me was, other than the three names that were sent to us, were there any other names that were put on the table?
No, sir.
I read, and this is coming from me, I read the letter that was sent. And I guess my question is, what criteria was used to select the 3 individuals that were selected?
Well, from our standpoint, it was a situation where 2 people have been honored at South North High School, Mr. Munn and Mr. Jimmy Smith, and certainly the thought process was both those men have played key roles into what South North is today. And whenever you think of Mr. Munn and you think of Mr. Smith, certainly the gap was still there to where Mr. Sauter, Mr. Davis, and Mr. Hartzell, those 3 had not been recognized, and basically to kind of put things back into perspective and put things back the way it should be. Thought process of the committee was those 3 men in particular certainly deserve to be honored in some way by having facilities named after them as well. These 3 gentlemen, all 3 men gave approximately 120 years of combined service to South North High School, and certainly that is something that going forward is going to be rare, if almost not impossible going forward.
Yeah. The only question I got is, and I don't know these men that well, and but my whole thing is, and this is, I guess, a board question, is where do we stop? Teachers that have taught out there for 30 years, you got a lot of things, a lot of people that have did a lot of things at a lot of schools, and what are we gonna, I just don't want to get into a, let's name this, let's name that, let's name this, for, and if, maybe that's the cutoff, but how would you tell the next group that, no, we don't want to do that, we don't want to put that person's name on something, that's the only thing that I got a slight problem with. I'm not questioning either one of these men or the people that you put up there.
Yes, sir.
That's not the point. But the next wave of people that probably is going to come to us and say, I like to name maybe this tree or whatever. I just like to know where, what the community wants as far as a cutoff. How do we cut it off and say, well, that one doesn't qualify?
I understand. First of all, I'd say, obviously, the first thing that happens is the community must determine that they think they have somebody who's qualified. And then once they do, like we have in this case, I'm bringing you 3 gentlemen who I do think are qualified, who this committee does think is qualified, and ultimately it'll be your decision whether or not that you do, just like, and it would be the same thing 7 years down the road if somebody else decides to come forward from South North community to want to be considered as well. I will say right now at this time, this would complete the naming of our facilities, at least where we are present. Am I going to sit there and say that there's not people going forward? No. I certainly hope there may be times down the road where a committee at South North will determine that, hey, we think this person should be honored in some way. But truly, I do not. These 3 men stood out amongst their peers, and and again, I just can't express to you enough how much I do personally think that these 3 men should be honored in the way they are.
Questions?
I'm sorry. When you look at the policy that you have currently, it doesn't have a lot of specificity when it comes to naming portions of a facility. It's fairly specific when it comes to naming facilities. But all it says is individuals or groups may request that portions of school facilities be named for persons or organizations that have made substantial contributions to the school system, either through personal service or the dedication of resources and revenues to the school or school system. And that's pretty much all that
Yeah, that's,
correctly in
see,
the
and that's what I
policy.
know. I was on the group that helped put that together, so it wasn't. I knew we were gonna get into this sooner or later.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, but we haven't had, there was a big discussion on the first couple of people that came through, and we were real concerned about what are we gonna name and what, you know, but I guess as long as you're putting it on tracks and stuff like that, you know, I don't really have a problem with it. I just hated to run the board into a situation where another group, and you know, and if you're picking up people, you know, you can find some people that like people, and so, you know, I don't know, I don't really care either way, Mr. Mont. You know, I think if the group in South Lenoir thinks that those people deserve it, you know, I don't have a problem with it. But you know, all I'm thinking about is how far do we go? Because I think there's some people out here that have did some good things for the school system, and they could probably have something named after, you know. But so you know, that's the only problem I have with it.
And just listening to what Mr. Nobles was saying, one of them was a facility, right? The track, the
Football
You
field,
have the
football
football
field
field,
complex.
the
an athletic complex,
track, and the athletic complex.
which is actually built. And I kind of looked at this same way, and I don't know these three gentlemen, and so I have no personal opinion one way or another where they're concerned. But my concern also is you open this can of worms, and then, as Mr. Noble said, you got this other group that said, well, you know, I know this group of people who may be deserving. That's why my thing was, what was the criteria? Moving forward, do you use a rubric to say, well, if they meet this criteria, you know, we name a building after them? Or do we just say, well, we think that they're good, as you said, they did so many years of service. So what is the criteria? What would it be moving forward? And my concern is just if we get into naming things after people, that there are going to be certain other people that come along in certain other schools and say, well, we have this group and we think that they're deserving of something being named. I'm like, how do we cut it off? Where do we stop it? And one thing that was brought to me today when I posed somebody from that district, they said to me, they said, well, I don't think it's a good idea. They said, you know, this is what they told me. Look what just happened at ECU, you know, so.
I think we have two issues on the table now. The request tonight, which does follow the policy, and do we need more specificity in how we allow, or how we consider people for being named as part of the facility? I mean, the policy is fairly general in terms of that. And I mean, I understand those concerns. I think we talked about it, Mr. Douglas, when we did this policy, we needed more in here. And maybe you need to reconsider your policy. If you're trying to make an advisory on that, you certainly can be as specific as you like about who qualifies for having their name put on part of your facilities. But the issue tonight in the second reading is that you have this request that came to you, and it was done by the policy. So two really different issues is the way I see it.
I had one question that I wanted to ask. I'm familiar with all three gentlemen, and I can understand the sentiment that's coming forward. But two of the three were principals?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But all the naming are on athletic facilities.
Well, they're also coaches and so forth before they were principals.
Okay. So that's
Yes,
the
sir.
angle.
Yes, sir. Yes, so they all, of course, rose from teacher to principal through South Lenoir, and in all three cases, their name was certainly made. Well, in Mr. Sauter's case, he coached in the 1960s, but the other two gentlemen, they coached for 30 plus years. Mr. Davis was the athletic director for 25 plus years, along with being a basketball coach and things such as this. Mr. Sartzel was football coach, longtime track coach, and in each of their cases, they would have much prefer to have if you were to ask, like even in this case, Mr. Sauter, athletics was everything very much an athletic principal. So certainly, he would much prefer to have if you were asking a facility manager to him, a football field than say an auditorium or something such as that. And I would like to also say that these three men did not know for months that that this undertaking was even being done. And we met in October, when our committee met in September, October, we did not, these gentlemen were not told of anything until the day after the first reading at the first of this month at the board meeting. I called all three the next day and let them know that what had transpired since it had come out in public in open session. And all three of the gentlemen were certainly very, very honored, very humbled, and at the same time taken aback by the token of generosity. So.
My turn, yeah. Thank you, John. And I'll try to be as delicate as possible. And I don't have any questions for Senator Mann because I actually called him today and talked to him. Most of you probably know I lived on that side of the river for almost half my life. I graduated from South North. I know all three of these gentlemen. They're fine people. But where I'm having a little bit of problem is kind of like we're talking about here, and I've talked with Dr. Mazinga today too, is that, you know, this is going to be a no-win situation for this board. Because if you do it, some people are going to agree with you and they're going to like it, and then there's going to be some people that are going to disagree with you and are not going to like it. Part of the issue I think is going to be how are we going to manage it? How are we going to control, or how are we going to know where to stop? And another thing that you know, I don't let 41 people decide, you know, what we should do, because I'll be frank with you. I went to Pink Hill a couple, 3 weeks ago, and I got jumped, literally jumped. And those people I was in the presence of about 8 or 10 people, and they were not particularly in agreement with this. And I said, well, what you need to do is let your concerns be known. Either call central office, call Dr. Mazinga, come to the meeting, let someone know, you know, and not to say that these 8 or 10 should dictate that you shouldn't do that either. But, you know, and I realize you're not going to get 100%. You know, no matter, I mean, I've been on this board 10 years now, and certainly there are some people out there who don't like the way that I think or like the way I voted. And I understand that because we just all don't see eye to eye. But I didn't know if maybe we could get a better feel for that community. You know, more of what you would call, I know John and I talked about it too, as far as, you know, have a vast majority of the people that would be in agreement with it. And I also asked about how many facilities have we had named, I guess since we've been in existence of public education system, and you can count them on both hands how many facilities are named after people in our system now, presently. So, you know, it's not the kind of thing I think we need to just kind of, you know, jump out and say, because like I said, I mean, I know all three of these gentlemen. Mr. Sauter was the principal when I was there. Mr. Hartzell was my football coach, and Mr. Davis was the baseball coach. So I know all of them. I've known all of them my entire adult life. So, you know, whether or not they're worthy of it, you know, that's not the question. But, you know, how do we go about doing this and make sure we're doing it, and that everyone's in agreement, or most everyone's in agreement, the vast majority, and that how is the board going to manage this, you know, from here on out? Because I know that in the past that there really hadn't been, I mean, no one was here except maybe when we had the request for from South Lenore for the basketball court, and then it went to Woodington for the basketball court, and then to Frank for the basketball court. Not to say that any of those people weren't deserving, but I just think we need to kind of make sure that what we're going to do is going to be the right process we need to do, so that we make sure we don't get to a point where we say, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Ms. King?
Why now is it a problem to name all of a sudden tonight? Why was this not brought up when these other 10 or less that you said?
Well, some of those are.
Some of these it was brought up.
Some of these are way before any of our. Well, there might be some people here that could be.
Yeah, it was brought up, and we had the same conversation we're having now. And we put together that.
But you named them.
Yeah, but it like I said, it went forward, and we came out with a thing, and they got the people to, and so, you know, that's why I'm not even really in a have a problem because he did follow the guideline. He followed the guideline, and he got it out. But you know, I can still see that if this, when this goes, just like I've said before, that people are going to start, people could possibly bring some more, and we do need to. I don't know how you will manage it, but and what the qualifications should be, but I think we should, as a board, we should look at it, you know, because some people are going to get left out.
Mr. Noble, one thing, if I might, make sure, one thing I do want to make sure we understand, nobody knows my side of the river, as people keep saying, better than I do.
Okay.
Nobody. Nobody in this room, nobody anywhere. I know my people.
Okay.
And I know for there you're going to have, especially if you've had somebody 35 plus years making decisions, these gentlemen, as good as they are going to upset people. There's no doubt about that. But I know that the rank and file, the majority of people in our community will support this endeavor. The one thing I would say to the 8 or 10 that jumped you, Mr. Hill, is I'd love for, if you'd like to get those people together, I'm glad to sit down with those people. I've got a good feeling that some of those people may very well be people that have talked to me personally about this as well and may tell us different things. I do know that it is, unfortunately, I guess going forward, my concern with this is the last thing I wanted to do was take what I thought was a wonderful opportunity to show some love to 3 gentlemen who gave so much to our community. The last thing I want to do is disperse their name in any way or do anything that's going to sit there and bring any kind of negativity, because that's not the purpose of this. They're 3 outstanding men. They're 3 mentors of mine. I know I would not be here today if it wasn't for the likes of people like Mr. Hartson, Mr. Shaw, and Mr. Davis. Only thing I can say is that with the rules that we have here, I felt like I went above and beyond to try and make sure that we were as fair as we could be, to make sure that people knew what was going on, to have an opportunity to honor these 3 men in a way that we felt was dignified for our community. And, you know, certainly, if that's the wishes of the board, that's certainly what we want. But, you know, regardless, we are going to certainly respect whatever the board decides. And but certainly, you know, when it comes to doing homework and it comes to trying to make sure everybody of voice was heard, and people who would have probably either not supported whatever, we try to make sure that those people are included in our conversations as well. And there was nobody we didn't sit there and have involved simply because this gentleman is not going to support Mr. Davis, or this person had an issue with Mr. Hart's in 1977 or whatever, man.
Mr. Sandeman, let me say this. Like I said, I don't know the gentleman.
Yes, sir.
You just happen to be the one here tonight.
That's right.
The school is here. Had it been any other school, the same questions I would have had, so it's not directed at you or right, or at these 3 gentlemen. But I think, you know, no matter which school came forward with this first or tonight, I mean, we would have still been having the same discussion.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we've had it since we've had this presented to the board, since we've had this new policy.
Yes, that's true.
And the last 2 actually were, I mean, we didn't really have a policy, did we? When the South Lenore Gym and the was it the Woodington Gym and the Frank Gym, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we put this policy together in 2012.
Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't give us a whole lot of guidance.
It gives a lot of guidance
to the people that put it together.
But that was. It's better to have that than not have anything.
It actually has a lot of guidance on naming facilities.
On the facilities, it has some very detailed
it's
things
not very
to look
specific.
at. On portions, it's a lot broader.
It doesn't help you all in making your decision. I mean, you have still 100% discretion on how you want to handle it.
That's right.
I mean, you certainly did your homework and submitted something, but in terms of what you all want to do with it, it doesn't help guide you one way or the other.
You see, I want to know why I had the question come up now, like Keith said.
I just have a tough time.
Yeah.
We have a policy in place. We have a school, a principal, a community that has come forward within that policy. And now tonight, we want to review the policy or make changes to the policy. And I'm having a tough time with that. He's done his homework, they've done their homework.
I'm not coming from, I told you, I graduated from Alpha. I know all three of these gentlemen, they're fine people. I don't have an issue, I'm like Mr. Smith, I don't have an issue with that. But I would like to make sure, and maybe this is something that wasn't thought of. Anytime you make a policy, you have policies because normally policies are created when you have a situation, you have to deal with it. You don't have anything in place, something happens, you have to put something in place. This was put in place because of what happened previously. And so when you have your first situation where you have this, then you find out if you've got any loopholes or issues or problems. What I want to do is make sure that everyone that is in that community, and I don't even like to say that community because I like to think of it as all one community. But I'd like to make sure that the vast majority of the people in that community think this is the thing that should be done at South Lenoir. That's how I feel about it. And then maybe we should, as a board, look at how do we manage it in the future.
I would, I've listened to everybody's opinions, and I don't know any of these gentlemen personally. I mean, I know them by reputation, but I didn't know them personally. I do feel like this is an issue that should be, the majority of the people in the community that school serves, if they feel strongly that these men should be honored in that way, then I think they're the ones who get to determine that. I do hope that it is the vast majority of the people in that community, but to be honest with you, I believe Mr. Saint Ahmad that he knows his community. We have put this out there on the agenda. We read it a month ago. Nobody's come forward to complain about it. I would also say I kind of agree with Dr. Mozingo. If we even vote on this tonight, I wouldn't take the vote as any reflection on these three gentlemen by any means. I would take the vote as kind of a sign as to how this board leans toward the whole idea of naming parts of facilities after people. I mean, this may just be a board that's not interested in doing that. And if that's the case, then that's the board's decision. But if the majority of the people in the South Lenoir community want these men to be there, and we're not hearing a lot of dissent, objections, nobody's coming to speak to us, I would trust Mr. Saint Ahmad, and he knows his community. Anyone else?
Need to put this to a vote tonight, or table it, or decide how you move forward?
What's the pleasure of the board? Somebody's got to make a motion.
Yeah, no, yeah. Let me ask this before we go. And I'm not trying to. This is not a stall. I'm not trying to. And I told Dr. Mozingo today. I'm gonna tell the story. One of the first 2 months I was on the board, we went in closed session, and there was discussion about a vote that's going to be taken in open session, and it was going to be 6-1 because I was not in favor of it. And I came back out and I said, "Well, what's the difference? 6-1, 7-1. I'm gonna change my mind." I regretted that. I didn't sleep that night. So when I come out and take a vote, I want to vote and do what I think is the right thing to do and what I feel comfortable in doing. I told Dr. Mozingo today, this just for some reason right now just doesn't feel like we're doing it the right way. I mean, like I said, I'll say it again. These are three fine gentlemen. They all deserve it. But I just want to make sure that we're going to be able to position that we can manage this forward, and it's going to be the right thing to do because that's what the vast majority of the people in this community feel like we should do. And that's my reservations about it. I mean, I would like to make sure that the vast majority of the people in that community, like I said, those 8 or 10 people that talked to me, and it just was by circumstance. They didn't seek me out just by circumstances, but they did issue some to me voices of concern, and I told them what to do, and apparently none of them either felt strong enough or either didn't think it would do any good.
So how do we move forward with?
We need a motion.
Certainly, we have several options. Somebody could make a motion to obtain more public input on this and table it for another time. or somebody could make a motion to approve it. Or if no one makes a motion, we'll be moving on. I assume on the agenda, there's no motion to move on.
I'm sorry I even said anything.
Yeah, maybe I didn't want to throw it out.
But I don't know. Why don't we just, like I said, he followed the rules, and if we don't have a problem with him, you know, but I do think this is something we're gonna have to address, because time people see this, they're gonna come back and somebody else gonna have a because we had a discussion just like we had it the last time. People are gonna come back and say, I want this name out, and if we cut them down, we're gonna have the same problem.
How long has it been since we've named the facility?
We haven't.
Why didn't they come back last time?
They did come back right after them.
Keith, there was like, what was it, Dr. Zinger? 10 facilities that are named, right, Brent?
Yeah, Brent put the list
Like
together.
10. Some of them are going to be way before your and my time. But the most recent ones, with the way the policy read, is that the school actually named the facility and then told the board what they'd done. Am that correct?
That is correct.
There was no vote, there was no board action, there was no vote. The school did it, then came to the board and informed the board what they did. And at that particular time, the board members felt like that there needs to be a little more oversight than that. So that's how this came about. Am I remembering correctly? Because I've gotten where I can't even remember what I had for breakfast.
That is correct.
Okay. That's how it kind of transferred, right?
That is correct.
In the 10 years, there's only been those 3 incidents
But what I'm saying, what I'm hearing from Mr. Nobles is if we do this tonight, then next month to the next month, somebody else is going to be in here.
They could be.
And if we've only, but if we've only done 10, in how many years?
Well, when did we do? We did it in 2012.
With
No, it's
the
been
most
like
recent.
2
But we're
years.
saying 10 or less, in how many years has this district been here?
When was those date for the last one?
The last building,
The-
1989.
No, the last facility name, do you remember?
910, 910 and 1011. 910 for the Southfield North.
It was just
basketball
before
court.
I
1011 for
came
the
and
Frank
we put
and
this
Wooding.
policy together after I
So
came.
what was it that was named? It was not the actual facility, was it?
No,
Basketball.
3 basketball courts.
If y'all remember when we built the schools, this came up. Some people wanted a school named after a person. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm telling you, this, I probably won't be on this board after this when it happens. But I know this is going to come back up. And you need to have it set up unless you want to name every tree and every sidewalk a name. I'm telling you, it could get to that point. If people, you know, let's vote on it. I'm ready. I'm ready. I move that we vote on the people that wanted to be named after some of the spots in the school. Yeah, where is it at? Oh, okay. I consider the names request for South and North High School.
Mr. Nobles, could you state whether your motion is in support of the
I support it. I really don't have a problem with these people.
No, I'm not asking you to vote. I just, your motion needs to clarify whether you're asking for the board to vote in favor of the recommendation.
Yes.
That we approve.
Right.
The motion.
Naming the request from Southfield High School.
Yeah, that's what I want.
That's what he said.
Well, we'll take that as a motion by Mr. Nobles.
Thank you.
Now,
Let's move on.
do we have a second to the motion?
Second.
And a second by Mr. King. Any further discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say before we vote, you know, when I vote, I want to feel good about it. And right now, not that I don't feel good about the 3 men, I don't feel good about how we're doing it, how we're going about it. Because I mean, just like Mr. Nobles, I think we're going to, obviously when they did the policy, they didn't foresee, but we're going to have other situations that are going to come up. And like I said at the beginning, in this particular situation, and no reflection on Mr. St. Man or those 3 men, but this is a no-win for this board, gentlemen.
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm just glad we're having this debate here publicly. I mean, we're a public board, and really, to be honest with everybody, this is how it should happen.
Yeah.
You should see that people have different opinions, and this is exactly how a public board should work.
I'd rather be without me being in the hot seat.
And I've already
You signed the limit.
You know, this is how the government works.
Yes, sir.
You should hear the debate so that you know what the different sides are, and I'm glad.
You should have more of your students.
Yes, sir.
Government works.
Is there a call for it? Unless there's any further discussion?
And I'm gonna say again,
Give everybody their last chance. You already had yours.
before we vote, this is not a reflection on these gentlemen. I'm sorry, this is just on the process for me.
I echo.
All right, having no further discussion, last chance. We're going to call it for a vote. All in favor of the motion which approves the South Lenore High School dedication request, raise your right hand. That is 4 votes for. All against? 3 against. The request passes 4-3. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sports.
Next item on the agenda is out-of-state field trips. Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir. Tonight we have 4 out-of-state field trips that were submitted to you in your packets for your consideration. Frank Middle School's 7th graders are requesting to go to Washington, D.C. on April 28th through the 30th, 2016. Kinston High School Band is asking to go to Busch Gardens in Virginia on May 8th through the 10th, 2015. Kinston High School French students in grades 9 through 12 are requesting to go to Quebec, Canada, June 22nd through the 26th, 2015. And finally, Rochelle Middle School's 8th graders are requesting to travel to Washington, D.C., June 13th through the 14th, 2015. We're submitting these for your approval.
Move to approve out-of-state field trips.
Motion made by Mr. Anderson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion of the out-of-state school trips? All in favor, raise your right hand. The trips are approved. The next item is a motion to go into closed session.
I move that the Lenore County Board of Education goes into closed session under North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to prevent disclosure of confidential personnel files, to consult the board's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and to consider matters relating to initial employment of an individual employee.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Hill. Sorry, was there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All in favor of going into a closed session, raise your right hand. We are now in closed session. All right, we are now back in open session. We'll entertain a motion to approve Stephanie Smith with regard to an assistant principal position.
And I would need to recuse myself from this vote because it's my wife.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion accepted.
Motion made by Mr. King. Do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Nobles. All in favor of approving the personnel report specifically with regard to Stephanie Smith, raise your right hand. It is approved. Announcement.
Please stand, Ms. Smith. Give me the opportunity to recognize our newest administrator, Ms. Stephanie Smith, assistant principal at Kinston High School. Congratulations.
We'll entertain a motion for the balance of the personnel report with the addendum.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Anderson. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. All in favor of approval of the personnel report with the addendum, raise your right hand. It is approved. Next item.
So moved.
He's always the first.
Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Davis. All in favor of adjournment. We are now adjourned.